What is the S&P Case-Shiller Index? First of all, it's not really just one index. It's multiple indices that measure housing prices all across the nation, and it gives us insight as to how the economy is doing based on whether or not people are buying homes. If the index is going up, we know there is a demand for homes and that the economy must be doing well. If it's going down, we know that people aren't buying homes and that the economy must not be doing as well. The S&P Case-Shiller Index is more reliable than reports by the National Association of Realtors because it only uses information on repeat or arm's length sales, meaning homes that have been sold on the market once before and are being sold again. The index omits data on newly constructed homes, newly renovated homes, or homes that are being sold at a discounted price, because these homes do not tell us what the market is really doing and therefore would change the index. If we examine this graph comparing the Case-Shiller Index and the NAR Index, we see that the NAR Index is much more sporadic than the S&P Case-Shiller Index and that it reports home prices much higher overall. The S&P Case-Shiller Index is also seasonally adjusted, which means that it accounts for seasonality. Seasonality is a time series characteristic where changes occur in a pattern over certain times of the year. For example, home prices go up during the summer months and drop during the winter months. By omitting these seasonal changes in prices, we get a more consistent idea of what the market is doing. The Case-Shiller Index is calculated each month using information from the previous 3 months. A 100 on the index is basically an arbitrary starting point. You can think of the index as a kind of barometer. A 125 means the housing prices have gone up, but that does not mean houses are costing $125,000. Similarly, an 85 means prices have gone down, but houses do not cost $85,000. What makes the S&P Case-Shiller Index relevant? As we discussed before, it gives you insight as to how the economy is doing. Additionally, if you are looking to invest in a home, you'll want to be sure that your home will continue to gain value and not leave you underwater on your mortgage. An underwater mortgage occurs when you purchase a home and a mortgage for one price and then the value of your home decreases, leaving you with a mortgage to pay that is worth more than your home. For the purposes of this assignment, we will examine 3 very different cities and the home buying markets in them: New York, San Francisco, and Atlanta. We will analyze the differences in indices of these cities, compare the means of the indices, and discuss why it is important to analyze these markets and what kind of information you can bring out of them. First, we will analyze the Case-Shiller Index in New York City. Home prices grew quite steadily from 2000 to 2006, with the peak in prices occurring around 2006. When the housing market crashed, we see a sharp decline in home prices and a delay in growth after the recession ended. The housing market price here did not really begin to rise again until 2012, and even after it started to rise again, it was slow. Next, we will analyze the index for San Francisco. At first glance, we can see that the index is pretty sporadic, with sharp growth and declines. The first major decline in 2001 was due to the dot-com bust. Many businesses failed, leading to a decline in the economy for the city. There's a sharp rise in home prices from 2004 to 2006, right before the housing market crash. Since the end of the recession, San Francisco experienced another decline in home prices from 2010 to 2014, but since then has been on the rise and surpassed pre-recession prices. Finally, we will take a look at Atlanta's index. Most notable for me is the extreme dip in prices in 2012 to levels lower than 2000. Atlanta is still a growing city with new businesses and new people moving every day. New home construction is able to relatively keep the market steady and growing, but we see plateaus in the market when the population has difficulty finding jobs. The market has just about reached pre-recession levels. Here, we can see that all 3 cities have very different markets and very different mean prices as well. In New York, the mean index is 170, San Francisco's is 166, comparable growth to New York, and Atlanta's mean index is 115. Based on mean growth, it appears as though New York and San Francisco's home markets are doing much better than Atlanta's. So maybe you're thinking about buying a house, either to live in or to invest in order to make a profit later down the road. You could just buy a home in any old city and hope it gains value over time. But now your risk of an underwater mortgage goes up. Maybe the economy is lagging and perhaps making a turn for the worse, and you just signed up to pay for something that you can no longer afford. This is why it's important to do some research and analyze the indices of certain cities in particular and composites of cities to see what the economy is doing. Now again we'll look at the indices of the three cities, New York, San Francisco, and Atlanta. If you're thinking about purchasing a home, you want to reduce your risk of an underwater mortgage and help your chances of buying a home that will gain value. We can see that Atlanta's home price index is very bumpy and has not yet reached its pre-recession levels, but in the past it has plummeted to a score below 100. There's a lot of plateaus in the graph, which tells me the economy might not be stable yet, and that it might be wise to invest elsewhere. San Francisco has a very sporadic index, with major upswings and declines. Although the market is well above pre-recession levels, the city has a tendency to have major declines in the market prices that last for quite a while. If you are willing to risk an underwater mortgage for some time to see returns years down the road, this wouldn't be the worst option, but you should have purchased while the prices were low. New York seems to be the most steady market, and although the decline after the recession lasted quite a while, the decline was less than that of the other two cities. Additionally, the market has been on a slow rise since 2013 and looks as though it will continue to rise, and if not, the hit wouldn't be as bad as in either of the other cities. The S&P Case-Shiller Index is a useful tool for analyzing the housing market and economy. It can be utilized for investment decisions and provides better information than many other indices out there. Based on the three cities we've analyzed, I would argue that New York has the best market if you're willing to take the risk. I hope this video provided useful insight as to how to analyze the Case-Shiller Index. Thank you.